What better way to start off a new year than by looking at some of the best chess games that were played over the previous year? In this video, we are going to take a look at the 10 best games that were played in 2021. Now, credit for this list actually goes to the app FollowChess. I'll try and leave a link in the description. You can get it if you don't already have it. It's an excellent app for following top-level chess events from all over the world. We have 10 games to look at. We will not use engine analysis. We'll just try and appreciate the beauty that these players are going to paint for us. So we'll be nice and fast, and we'll start with number 10. This was played by Mr. David Navarra, the world's nicest grandmaster according to several sources, against the Russian Vladimir Vedeseev. I just noticed the spelling of the Vladimir. There's no 3 at the end, I can assure you. Now, this game was played at the Euro Club Cup, and from the white side, David Navarra started with 1e4, c6, d4, d5, e5, the advanced Caro-Kann, bishop f5, knight f3, e6, bishop e2, the short variation. If you play the Caro-Kann against any serious top-level chess player, they tend to do this most of the time. It's a very simple variation to play as white. You just grab more space than black, and then you just ask him what his compensation is for that space. Now, a6, white castled, bishop e4 was played, rook c1, threatening to open up the position, rook c8, c4. D takes c4, bishop takes c4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop d5, b3, b5, bishop drops back to e2, bishop b7. So far, it's a fairly normal game. White does have a bit more space because of this pawn on e5, but black looks like he's just fine. He wants to play here. He wants to develop the bishop and then castle. But then white goes like no. And Navarro is known to be an aggressive player, so I guess it's not too surprising he started doing this. First sacrifice, knight takes b5, boom. Pawn takes back, bishop b5, bishop c6. Black goes like, bro, why'd you just give me a piece for 2 pawns? White goes like, well, I wanted to sack again. Second sacrifice, rook takes c6, knight takes c6, queen c2. And white has sacrificed an exchange and a piece. It's down 4 points of, normal count in material. And it's just arguing that this guy can't do anything. You can't ever castle, and if your king is going to be stuck in the center, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Queen d5, a4, cementing the bishop there. f5, rook d1, attacking your queen. Queen e4, queen exchange, bishop d3, nope. Queen b4, bishop a6, hitting the rook. Rook c7, bishop b5. Now there's no way to defend this knight. Bishop e7, trying to castle, nope. Bishop b6, rook c8. Bishop takes on c6, king f7. Now black has managed to give up a piece and may gotten his king here to f7. Trying to argue f7 is quite safe. He's going to bring this guy into the game, try and liquidate some material. He still has material up normally. White goes a5. I have passed pawns. g5, king f1, queen f4, g3, hitting your queen. Queen takes the pawn on e5, queen c4. Now your king here is not as safe as it looks. Bishop c5, trying to exchange pieces. Rook e1 hitting the queen, queen d6, and then the move that was heard around the world, rook takes e6, boom. Now your queen cannot take, bishop comes here, and then you win a queen because of the pin with the king. So after rook takes e6, queen d4 is played, threatening checkmate and threatening a queen exchange. And then Navarra ends the game with the absolutely beautiful move, rook e7 check. Oof. First off, it's a double check. The rook is hanging more than one way. The king can just take. The bishop can just take. But you take with the bishop, you lose your queen. Actually, you can't even take with the bishop because it's a double check. And you take the guy, you lose your queen after bishop c5. It's just a fork of the queen and the king, and you resign. And there's no move. If you don't take the guy, you go anywhere else. Literally, the queen comes in and then you get mated. This was a very beautiful attacking game by Mr. David Navarra, the Czech grandmaster. And on we move. So game number 9 was played by Mr. Eshan Magami versus Pavel Pankratov. Now I know I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, please forgive me. This game was played in the penultimate round of the President of Uzbekistan Cup. Magami on the white side here, he won the game, so we'll follow from his standpoint. Started knight f3, c5, e4, d6, bishop b5, they transpose into a Sicilian. Knight d7, d4, c takes, queen takes. So this is a fairly common variation of the Moscow. a6 hitting the bishop exchanges on d7, bishop takes back, c4, entering a Maragzi bind pawn structure. Rook c8, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5, queen c7, b3, queen c5, queen exchange, nope, queen d2, e6, castles, bishop e7, rook fe1, rook d8, and then knight d5 is unleashed. Granted, this is actually a fairly typical Sicilian type sacrifice, but it's still a very nice sacrifice, and the nature in which he executes it is just beautiful here. The pawn takes the piece, it's just a full piece, and then the e pawn takes back, and that's the point of this sacrifice. You open up the e file where your rook already stands. It's super active, and black can never actually castle because this bishop and e7 is hanging. So black's solution is to go king f8. I've kind of released the tension. My bishop is no longer pinned, so you can't take on f6. But then I still do defend the bishop. Maybe I can go here, and try and unravel that way. White says no. Rook takes e7. Second sacrifice. Now the king is forced out into the open. King takes rook e1, king f8. Bishop takes f6. G takes f6, and now your king will absolutely never be safe, says white. Queen h6, check. King g8. And now the very quiet knight d2. Very crashing move, actually. The knight is threatening to just come to e4 and come to f6. And this king is in a mating net. It has actually absolutely no squares, so any check here will be checkmate. And the knight just has a very nice route into a check. Now black tried queen a5, pinning the knight to the rook. If you move the rook now, you remove the knight, black would take the rook with checkmate. White goes rook e3, be my guest. Take the knight. I'm going to go to g3 and I'm going to checkmate you. Bishop f5, black says no. You go rook g3, I'm going to block with the bishop. I'm not going to get mated, and I am going to take your knight. White says okay, knight e4. Now I'm coming back to take on f6. Now you don't have any pin any longer. You don't have any rook to take. How do you defend? Bishop takes e4 is forced. The rook takes back. Now it says, well, I'm still going to go rook here. I'm still going to checkmate you. Now you no longer have a bishop to block. f5. Black says no, my pawn is controlling the g4 square. White says rook e3, no. I'll come to g3 then. Black says f4. I'm controlling the g4 square. And white returns to e4. It says okay. But I'm just going to take you now, and I'm going to go back to g4. There's still absolutely nothing you can do to stop checkmate on this file. Like, it's so beautiful. White is down a full rook, but black is absolutely helpless. He can't move. Rook a8. Like, look at this move. Black had absolutely nothing to do. And this move is, it's basically resigned, because I don't know exactly what the move does. Like, it's absolutely nothing. And white finishes off the game in style. Queen g5 check, king f8. Queen e7 check, king g7, and then rook takes f4. You can't defend the f7 point and rook g4, which is still threatening to mate the king. And in this position, black resigned. Absolutely brilliant play by Mr. Magami. And he wins game number 9. Onwards we move. Now this is game number 8, was played by the legend Boris Gelfand versus Sergei Movizian. Now this game was played in the Euro Club Cup, and you are in for a wild ride, I can assure you. It's always nice to see legends like Gelfand still show their class, show that they can still hang with the top guys, even though Gelfand should be pushing 60, I guess. Let me actually check this. Yep, Gelfand is 53. So d4, d5, c4, c6. Gelfand is white, by the way, in case I didn't mention. Knight f3, knight f6. They go into a variation of the Slav defense where white gives up the pawn on c4. Black decides he's going to keep that pawn. And white says, okay, keep the pawn. I'm going to attack your structure later. All of this might look fancy to you, but those are just weaknesses I'm going to attack very soon. e6, a4. Did I not tell you? Black goes b4. Okay, I'm gaining tempo on your knight. He goes, yeah, okay, take the knight, e5. B takes c3, e takes f6. C takes b2. I'm going to win your rook and queen. So you have to take back, right? White goes, nah, no thanks. Go ahead. I'll do the exact same thing on the other side of the board. B takes a1 queen, g takes h8 queen. And yes, you are seeing right on move 11 of a game between two grandmasters, there are 4 queens on the board, and that's just the beginning. Queen a5 check, knight d2, c3. Black goes like, well, I have an extra passed pawn, and so why am I not just winning here? White says maybe you are. Castles, gives up a piece. C takes d2, bishop takes d2, a trade of 1 set of queens, and black is like, I have an extra piece, I'm winning. He takes an extra pawn on a4. The queen takes on h7. He goes a5. Yeah, I also have another extra pawn. I'm going to push that one too, by the way. White goes, well, you're not doing all of the extra pawns. h4. Rook a7. h5. bishop a6, bishop exchange, nah, bishop f3, rook d7, I have an extra pawn, h6, rook takes on d4, bishop h5, but your king though, rook d7, I'm defending my queen, queen g8, pass pawn, push to victory, very simple chess, bishop d3, well I'm protecting that square, bishop g5, but your king though, bishop g6, rook e1, bishop takes h5, you just give me a free bishop, nah, h7, now no one is stopping this guy from queening, queen b4 hitting the rook, says well, if you want the rook so bad you can take it, rook takes e6 check, the pawn takes back, queen takes on e6, and there's absolutely no defense for the king, especially with this guy coming in here to create another queen, rook e7, queen c8 check, king f7, queen f5 check, rook e8, queen c8 check, king f7, queen f5 check, king e8, black goes like, bro, you want to draw 3-4 repetition, play queen c8 one more time, let's draw, nah, h8 equals queen, and white is completely winning, rook e1 check, king h2, bishop g4, black has absolutely no checks left, and now white finishes off the game in style, queen g6 check, king d7, queen f7 check, bishop e7, queen to e8 check, king c7, and the final move, bishop takes e7, hitting the queen, threatening to reveal a reveal check with the king here. You either get mated or you lose your queen basically, and you have absolutely no check that does anything as black, and somehow white completely destroys black. Very beautiful game there from Boris. Always nice to see a legend play well. Now we have game 7 between Alexandra Kosteniuk and Irina Krush. This game was played in the Video Online Olympia that was played earlier this year between Russia and the US. Now Kosteniuk here on the white side starts with e4, Krush plays c5 as Sicilian, knight f6, d6, d4, open Sicilian, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, bishop g5, e6, queen d2, bishop e7, castles, a6, knight takes on c6, b takes on c6, takes on f6, bishop g4, castles, a very popular Sicilian called the Richter. I think Bobby Fischer used to like to play this a lot. Rook h e1, king h8. So basically black is saying, yeah, I've ruined my king side structure, but I have this wonderful cocoon of pawns in the middle that is just going to start pushing forward and cause you all sorts of troubles. And white is saying, well, but yeah, I'm going to mate you basically. Rook e3, rook lifts coming to join the attack, rook g8, f4, d5, attacking a piece. How does white defend the piece? White says, nah, you can take the piece. Actually, the pawn is pinned to the queen, so you can't take the piece just yet. But black says bishop d6, so I'm blocking the pin, so I'm threatening to take your piece now. Where does white move the piece to? e5. White doesn't move the piece, attacks the bishop. F takes e5, f takes e5, bishop c5, hitting the rook. Haha, black says, I'm gaining tempo on your rook now. Rook h3. You still can't take because the pawn is pinned to the queen. But black says, well, queen g5 check, king b1, and now your piece is kind of hanging. D takes c4. What you doing, bro? That's just a piece. Yeah. White says, yeah, you can take it. Knight e4 hits the queen. Queen takes on e5. Black is like, that's another pawn. What are you doing, man? Rook h5 hitting the queen. f5. Oh, the knight is pinned to the queen, and now I'm going to get to exchange queens. Am I not just winning here? Knight g5. Now, if you take queens, you get mated in one. So knight g5, you can't take the queen. The queen goes back to c7 to prevent mate here on h7. But then white just goes, well, rook e5 check. Queen e5 check, sorry. That's a check, also attacks the queen. Again, you cannot take because rook h7 is checkmate. So what do? You have to protect your queen somehow. Or else if you just protect the king, we are going to take the queen for free. Now, note, you also cannot play a queen here because the queen will be pinned and rook h7 will still be checkmate. That's a beautiful find here by Kosteniuk. Rook g7, the only move that attempts to hold on by Irina. The rook blocks the check and also defends the queen, right? Yeah, maybe he solved all his problems. Rook d8 check. Oof. Another free piece. Yeah, just take it, bro. You actually don't really have a choice because the rook is pinned, so queen takes d8. It's check is forced, and then white finishes things off very beautifully with rook h7 check. The rook is pinned, cannot take back, and so king g8 is the only move, and queen takes g7 is checkmate. It was brutal, beautiful game. Especially impressive since this game was played at a rapid time control. by Kostyniuk, absolutely wiping her opponent off the board. Her very strong and illustrious opponent, I should add. Beautiful game there. Number 6 is a Chinese affair between Xishu and Zhu Ling. Oh man, I'm sorry. If there were a way for me to correctly pronounce these names, I would, but there really isn't. It's a game between Xishu and Xu Yinglun. It was played in the Chinese Championship. We'll play from the white side. White won the game. White wins, spoiler alert, 9 out of these 10 games. Like it's crazy. E4, E6, French defense, D4, D5, knight C3, knight F6, E5, the advanced variation, knight drops back, F4, C5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop E3, A6, all fairly typical stuff, knight E2, the knight drops back to defend the D4 point, queen B6 attacking, queen C1 holding everything down, F6 attacking the pawn chain, C3 holding everything down, bishop E7, H4. White goes like, well, I have the center under control. You didn't manage to break down my center, so why can't I just attack you on the flank? Black goes castles. Okay, come at me. H5, H6. That pawn is not going anywhere. Rook H3. Oh, my rook is rook F7. I'm defending everything. King F2. And this move actually illustrates a theme that we're going to see in this game, which is that the white player absolutely does not mind moving his king, even to places it's not warranted. He can just move his king all the way up the board. F takes E5, F takes E5. It's like, bro, what's your king doing on this file? Bishop G5. Let me trade that dark square. Bishop, king G1. Bishop takes E3, queen takes E3, queen takes B2. Black goes like, I'm winning the pawn. I'm hitting your rook with tempo. Why am I not just better here? Yeah, sure, you can keep the pawn. Rook E1. I'm going to mate you. Knight E7. Now I'm going to defend. Knight H4. No, you're not. The knight was looking to come here, by the way, to F5 to hold everything down. But this knight challenges that one. So the other knight comes to F8. They're crowding the king, trying to defend all the squares. Rook G3. King H8. Knight F4. Bringing all the pieces. C takes D4. C takes D4. Bishop D7. Trying to bring the bishop in to defend. The knight starts invading. Trading off some of the defenses. Knight takes E7. And then Bishop D3. The pieces are coming. King H8. My king is safe. Rook B1. Well, your queen isn't. Now I'm going to take this pawn. And I'm going to attack you like so. Queen takes 8, I'm going to take more pawns. Rook takes on B7, Queen A4, Rook F3, Queen D1 check, King F2, King G8, King G3. The king starts marching up the board. Where's your king going? Queen A4, Queen F4, Queen A5, King H2, going back to safety, Queen D8, Rook B1, Bishop B5, exchanging some pieces. Nope, Bishop G6, King H8, Rook B2, Queen G8, Rook B to F2, A5, Queen C1, Rook B7, G4. If you're wondering what White is doing, White is trying to get the ideal setup here to attack Black's. He's taking a lot of shuffling, a lot of time, but I realize that the bishop is now in an ideal square. The rooks are now doubled, looking to invade out the F file. He has ideas of creating an King's gun and just going down, although the bishop controls the square for now. And now he's trying to attack also with the pawns, all the while making sure that his king on H2 is absolutely safe. Queen D8 and now G5, opening up things. You can't take back with the queen, actually, attractive as it looks, because at the end of the day you get mated by the rook. So H takes G5, Queen C5, Rook F7, Rook BBGH, Rook F7. Now he starts invade. G4, Black goes, well, my queen is coming in. King G3, no it's not. Bishop C4, King takes G4. And now this king starts doing an absolutely unexpected thing in the game where all major pieces still exist plus a minor piece. The king is just going to walk up to the other king and go like checkmate. Rook C8, Queen A3, King G8, Queen E3, Rook C7, H6, opening up the final pawn defending the king. Rook takes F7, Rook takes F7, Rook B8, H takes on G7, Queen B6, and now the black king is completely naked. Queen F4, Queen B4. And a move like Queen H6 actually just wins. It's mate in X according to the engine, because you can't stop checkmate. I mean, there's so many threats. Like, White is completely winning here. But White decides, you know what? I'm going to mate you with my king. King G5. And it's not something you see every day, which is why this game made it to the list. Queen A3, King H6. Bishop H3, bro, where's your king going? Just Bishop H5. The king is absolutely safe. There are no more checks. The king has successfully held down this pawn. And now rook f8 is an unstoppable checkmate. And here black resigned. Absolutely cracking game from the white player. Onwards we move. Now game number 5, you reach world champion territory. The one and only Magnus Carlsen is here on the white side, playing against Vladimir Vedesev. This game was played at the World Cup, and Magnus started e4, c6, d4, d5, e5, which is what every super grandmaster will play if you play the Caro-Kann. Bishop f5, c4. Magnus goes for something that's not supposed to be very good. He's just trying to open that position very quickly. He actually played similarly against Alireza, I think, later in the year in another Caro-Kann, I think at the World Rapid or something. So it's like a pet line that he can play against the Caro. He likes to go for this kind of things. e6, knight c3, bishop b4, pinning the knight. He takes on d5, queen takes on d5, knight e2, queen d8, a3, bishop a5, knight g3, hitting the bishop, knight e7, defending, bishop c4, bishop drops back to c6, h4. I'm coming for you. h6, h5, bishop h7, queen g4, king f8, castles, knight d7, knight c to e4, bringing all the pieces into the action. Bishop c7, bishop drops back to a2, knight comes to f5, knight takes on f5, bishop takes on f5, queen f3, queen e7, black is trying to hold on. Knight g3 hitting the bishop, bishop drops back to a7, queen g4 again, black is breaking free with c5, bishop d2, rook d8, f4 by Magnus, going all in. Knight b6, bishop c3, knight d5, f5, knight e3, queen f3, knight takes on f5, knight takes on f5, bishop takes on f5, d5, undermining the bishop, bishop b6, bishop c4, king g8, d6, queen h4, b3. I mean, this is just, it's like a symphony, right? It's like Magnus is just beautifully coordinating all his pieces, creating all sorts of issues for black. The main problem is this skin, right? This skin was safely castled away somewhere. Black would probably are breaking free a long time ago, but it's giving him a lot of issues. And rook d7, queen e2. Now white has managed to get this wedge in here on d6. It's very, very difficult to handle. Queen to g4, rook, queen exchange. Now Magnus starts unleashing moves. Rook takes f5, sacrificing the exchange. Queen takes f5, rook f1, queen g5, bishop d2 hitting the queen. Queen goes back to d8, queen g4, a6, and now an absolutely back-breaking move by Magnus. Rook takes f7. That square is defended twice. The king can take, the rook can take, but both moves are just not good enough. The king takes here, Magnus takes on e6 with check, king f8. And now you see the problem, apart from the fact that I have protected pass pawns that are just going to bulldoze you down the board, the king is completely open and will absolutely never be safe again for the rest of the game. Queen f5 check, king e8, queen g6 check, king f8, queen f5 check, king e8, queen g6 check, king f8, draw, 3-pole repetition, queen f5 check, nah, e6, the pawns are coming. Queen f6 going for a queen exchange. Magnus goes like, yeah, sure, I've already gotten all I wanted. E takes d7. He's gotten more than enough material to win the game, and so he allows the queen exchange. Queen takes on g6, h takes on g6, bishop d8, bishop e6, holding down the pawn, h5, king f2, h4, bishop g4, b5, king f3, b4, a takes b4, c takes b4, and black actually played this move and just resigned because the position is absolutely hopeless. This piece is dead. Like, do you realize this? There are literally no squares for this piece. There's no way for this rook to join the action. This pawn isn't going anywhere. This bishop is completely paralyzed by these pawns. So these pawns are just going to get picked up. Everything's going to get picked up. This pawn is just going to march down the board, and black literally has 0 moves to make. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of paralysis in this position. Not the flashiest victory, but absolutely beautiful from a purely chess perspective. Probably wouldn't have made this list, to be honest, if Magnus weren't the one that played it, but he's the world champion. On to game 4. Here we have Maxim Chigayev on the white side playing against Ilya Ilyushinok. This game was played at the Russian High League. Again, we follow Maxim from the white side. I did tell you that 9 out of these 10 games were won by the white side. e4, c5, maybe white is better after all. Knight f3, d6, d4, c takes, knight takes, going to an open Sicilian. Knight f6, knight c6, a3, a6, sorry, and knight off. Now bishop g5, knight b d7, bishop c4, queen b6, bishop b3, e6, queen d2, bishop e7, castles long, knight c5, f3, queen c7, g4. Now both sides are going to go after each other's kings, right? You expect black's kings to castle kingside at some point, and so we are going to get a good old pawn storm. b5, there we go. a3, rook b8, bishop a2, b4, a takes, rook takes. Black is going like, well, I'm opening up your king first, which means I must be better, right? Knight goes nah, h4, rook b8, knight b3. Yeah, I'm okay. My king is fine. Queen b7, is it though? Threatening to do things. Bishop takes on f6, g takes on f6, queen h6. Well, your king is not all that safe. Bishop d7, yes it is. He goes, is it though? g5, opening up. F takes, h takes, rook f8, queen g7. Very nice move, inviting this rook to join the party. Black goes a5, or I'm also going to attack you then. Let's go ahead. Rook h7 goes h4. The knight has to move now, and queen b2 is a whole lot of trouble. Go ahead, knight takes c5, d takes c5, or I'm going to do it now. Queen b2. How are you going to defend? Knight takes a4. It's a sacrifice. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Bishop just takes the knight and he goes g6. Now your attack is stumped because b2 is, guess what, protected by that queen here on g7, and your king turns out to be the one that is actually trapped. This rook stops the king from getting out, and the king is in a box, and f6 g6 threatens to just completely break everything up. Black goes, well, f6. Now the queen's defense of b2 is blocked. How are you going to defend against queen b2 now? Goes, well, bishop b3, I'll just block the file. Black goes, haha, I just take, I win a piece, I'm still going to crash through. And he goes, well, only if I take back. Queen f7 check. Oof. What a move. Very beautiful queen sack. Rook f7 is forced. G takes, king f8 is forced, is the only move. And then the absolutely beautiful finisher, rook g1. Sacrificing the queen by getting the king into a mating net. Now absolutely nothing can stop the move rook g8 and checkmate. And black, although he's up who knows how much material, is completely lost and resigned in this position. Beautiful queen sack. We'll move on to game 3. Now this game is the only one that was not played by a grandmaster. Shout out to FIDE master Vatsal Singhania of India, who played this game against I think an Armenian grandmaster, Shahakian. Now this game was played in Serbia, I believe, in the Paracene Open. Vatsal with white starts with e4. Another thing, most of the games with white I think started with e4, right? We are seeing a pattern here. White is better, 1, and 2. e4 is best by test. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, going to an Italian. Bishop c5, castles, knight f6, d3, d6, c3, a6, bishop b3, bishop a7, knight b d2, h6, rook e1, g5. Black says, well, we are going for it. It's actually a pretty fashionable line nowadays. Black just goes for this kind of kingside attack. Knight f1, g4. I'm coming for you. I'm a grandmaster. You're just a FIDE master. Knight d2, h5, knight c4, b5. Where's your knight going? Yeah, knight e3. I'm fine. h4. I'm going to kill your king though. Knight d5. Go ahead. g3. I'm opening everything up. H takes g3. H takes g3. Knight g3. Bro, you just gave me a pawn. Bishop g4. I'm hitting your queen. You can't play f3 because this guy is pinned. So what you doing? How are you going to defend that guy? White goes bishop g5. Black goes like, bro, your queen is hanging. Did you miss that? Bishop takes d1. What you doing, bro? Alright, it's fine. You can take my queen. Knight f6 check. King f8. Rook takes d1. He sacrificed the queen for just 2 pieces. That's 9 for 6 for those of you who do chess math. But somehow white ties black up into a beautiful knot. Queen c8, protecting from this guy. Yeah, bishop d5, pinning the knight. He's going to win the knight, by the way. Very difficult to defend. King g7. White goes, yeah, I can take my knight. I'm just going to safeguard my king, and I'm going to come and kill you with my queen. Sure. Bishop takes c6. King g6. See, I'm attacking 2 pieces, so I'm going to win one of them. Knight d5. Go ahead, be my guest. I will. Bishop king takes g5. d4. Opening everything up. Rook h4. Knight f5, hitting the rook. Rook g4. f3. Where's your rook going, bro? Rook f4. Haha, I got you now. Knight takes f4. E takes f4. King f2. Very, very nice move. Beautiful coordination there. Recognizing that this king is in huge trouble and opening up the h file for his rooks to come. Once the rooks join the attack, the king becomes absolutely helpless in the middle of the board. Rook b8, protecting the rook. Rook h1. Rook b6, hitting the bishop. g3. Sure, take my bishop. If you do, you get mated. Just after the very simple move, f takes g. These two files become open. My rook is going to join if needed. And your king actually cannot escape, because after takes, if you try to go here, this knight stops you from going away. And so any check here will be fatal. It's actually a very beautiful position. F takes g3. King takes. Knight takes. Who will take back? King e3. Ignoring it. The king is still in a complete mating net. Queen f8, trying to come and bail out with this queen. Bishop d7, d5, f4 check, king g6, e5, rook e6, rook d to g1, king f5, rook takes on g3. In this absolutely beautiful final position, black is mated. Black is completely mated. Any of these rooks joins the action on the 5th rank and it's checkmate. The king has 0 moves. It's actually quite beautiful. And again, white is down a ton of material, but checkmate ends the game. And here the grandmaster resigns to the FIDE master. Very, very beautiful game there from Mr. Vatsal. On we move. This is game number 2. Once again, we are in World Champion territory. This is a very famous game by now. We've even analyzed it here on the channel. Game 6 of the World Championship between Magnus and Ian Nepomniachtchi that took place in earlier this year. This is the longest game that's ever been played in World Championship history. The game goes on for, how many moves was this again? 136 moves. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to play through the moves and I'm going to talk about random things until the game comes to an end. Just enjoy Magnus's fighting spirit. So one of the things that really sets Magnus apart as a world-class chess player is that ability to have to win. You know, it's a mindset that only few players have, where they absolutely have to win every game and they go to extreme ends in every single game to try and win, even sometimes when it's not, you know, really called for. And in this game, Magnus does just that. In an equalish position out of the opening, he decides to give up the queen for 2 rooks just to create that little bit of imbalance on the board. And eventually that practical decision proves to be what gives him the game. Now this game was absolutely beautiful. Nepo played excellently, to be fair. In the beginning, he held up very well against Magnus's opening prep, got a fine position, even slightly better at some point. But somehow Magnus never stopped really, and eventually he ground Nepo down after 136 moves. This is the game that's kind of broke Nepo in his World Championship. After this game, he went on to blunder uncharacteristically very badly in the next few games, and at the end lost it with a slightly, you know, bad looking score, especially if you look at some of the blunders. But then before this game, the match was extremely close and really could have gone anyone's way. The game is still going on. Now they've got into this end game where Magnus has a rook and a knight and 2 pawns for the queen, and it's still completely drawn. But again, his relentless spirit is going to eventually wear Nepo down, and at some point Nepo is going to make a mistake that you can't really blame a human being for making, but that's just the kind of pressure that Magnus Carlsen can put on you. He just absolutely never stops until you die, and that's exactly what happened in this game. And eventually Nepo tried, but he blundered around this point, and soon the game was completely over and he had to resign. And Magnus won game 6 and went on to win the World Championship quite convincingly. He is our world champion for a reason. And now we have the final game, judged the best game played throughout the entire year, and the only game on this list that was won by the black pieces. We'll be following Grandmaster Max Vamadan, I hope that's how it's pronounced, of the Netherlands. This time we follow from the black side. He's playing Anne-Marie Muech. I hope that's how it's pronounced. She's also a strong player. This game was played much earlier in the year, I think. Ramadan, I think, became GM at this very tournament. And I played on the black side. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight e6, d4, went into a scotch, bishop c5, knight b3, bishop b6, knight c3, knight f6, queen e2, castles, bishop e3, d5. This is a very interesting way to play the squash, as white usually leads to opposite side castling and very aggressive, interesting games. So white castles long, black goes d4, forking pieces. White says, well, your pawn is pinned, so you can take either of them. So king b1. Black goes, that's fine, a5. Knight b5. I'm just going to take that pawn. Because, well, I'm going to take your bishop. White goes like, wait a minute. That pawn was pinned. Did you forget? Your queen is hanging. White goes, that's fine, I'm going to take back. Sacrifices a queen on move 12 of the game in exchange for a rook and a bishop. And take a look at what happens next. f3, bishop e6, knight c1, knight d7, queen e1, knight e5, bishop e2, knight c4, bishop takes on c4, bishop takes on c4. And take a look at what this bishop pair is going to do to this queen. I mean, in chess, they teach us certain things, right? These pieces are supposed to be worth 6, the bishop pair. This queen is supposed to be worth 9 points. This piece is absolutely going to get dominated by these two pieces. It's ridiculous what's going to happen here. Knight c3, rook d2, knight d1. Rook takes on d1, sacrificing the rook, foreseeing that together this pawn and this bishop pair are actually going to be just too much for the queen to handle. Queen takes d1, rook d8, knight d3, h6, queen c1, knight b4, knight takes on b4, a takes on b4, exchanges everything else, rook d1, queen d1, e2. Goes like, bro, how are you going to stop my pawn from queening? Right goes, yeah, that's easy, I'm going to put my queen there, dummy. Goes like, well, but your queen is trapped, your queen can't move. The queen absolutely cannot move, because the second you go away, you give black access to this square and nothing is going to stop this guy from queening. And you're going to have to give up your queen and you're going to lose the game. The queen absolutely cannot move. For the rest of the game, is stuck on this one square. And the rest of the game is about black slowly finding a way to bring in his king into the game and prove why that two bishops and a pawn can be stronger than a queen under very specific circumstances. a3, c5, takes on b4, g3, bishop takes, bishop d4, king a1, b5, c3, takes on c3, bishop e3, king b2, bishop d3, h4, and it's beautiful. I mean, black can play with 3 pieces. White can only play with 1. Like, white has absolutely nothing doing in this position. He's just literally shuffling around and waiting, because again, the queen cannot move. It's the kind of paralysis you expect to see in some Alpha Zero game, but this guy played this in an over the board game against a strong player, to be fair. And after a ton of shuffling, this game actually did go on for a while, didn't it? He starts breaking through. And he breaks through some more. What he's trying to do basically is trying to get his king. If the king joins the action, it's GG's. Currently, the pawns are following this kind of wall, right? So the king doesn't have any actual entry squares. And so he's just trying to massage these pawns to get some sort of route into the game. And it's going to take a while, but eventually f5 is going to come, e5 is going to come. And guess which squares just got opened up for my man to join the battle? And it's actually GG. It's just game over. So the king just starts bolting up the board. The queen now tries to check to stop something. King just, yeah, I'm already gone. e6 fights, threatens to also queen. No, you're not going anywhere. Bishop e4, queen e1, king d3. The king comes in. Queen b1 check, king e3, rook g1 check, king f3. And this position where white has a passed pawn and the queen, and black has just a bishop pair, white resigned because the position is completely lost. The queen is already hit. The queen cannot take because you queen. If the queen goes back to e1, now your king has joined the battle, and so you can play bishop c7 and force through the queen. The bishop protects this square, so your pawn is never going anywhere, and black with 2 pieces and the pawn has completely dominated white's queen. A beautiful game to end it out. Congrats to Grandmaster Ramadan for playing this beautiful game. I think he had a very good year as well. And yeah, sometimes chess is an art. You know, sometimes you can paint pieces of beauty on the chessboard, and yeah, these are a few of what these players managed to paint for us over the past year. I hope these games can inspire you to create your own little pieces of art this year. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment, drop a like. Happy chessing, and I'll see you later.